as a kid, I was just like, it was whatever. Like, whatever was there that was cheap, honey buns and shit. And I feel like these kids do the same thing, but they do it like in excess. Like, they be wilding because now they have debit cards and shit. But yeah, another episode. We're going to try to get this done weekly, of course. As I mentioned, I got Coach JB, and this is our Coach's Corner segment, as we always have every week. And of course, we know in the next, 5 days or so, we're going to get some actual NFL football. But before we get started, obviously there was some big news in the NFL. One of the biggest news is your boy Kyle Hamilton got signed. I think it was 4 years, $100 million. I actually like Kyle Hamilton a lot too. Like, I'm a big fan of him. When it is like, he's like your prototype, a strong safety, like 6'4" and 220 and some change. Hovers around the line of scrimmage, can play the flats, set the edge, can play in coverage. When they got him back to what he's accustomed to last season, towards the end of that season, he was back to his all-pro self, and he plays with a lot of, like, I think he got hurt in that Bengals game or whatever, came back, and he played with the injury most of the season, and he was still playing at a high level. And he's a great example of a kid that, as a high pick, as a safety, he played and busted his ass and got shit done, and he got paid for his efforts. So I'm always going to be in the camp of pay these players, because as you can see with Rashawn Slater, one snap and all it takes, and there goes your knee, there goes your ankle, there goes your foot, there goes your brain. You know what I'm saying? So get those monies off them owners, because them owners don't need that money anyways. They got a plenty of it. You feel me? Like, they scared to give off that guaranteed signing bonus. So like, they be shook. And it's like, to me, it's fuck them. Like, they're billionaires. They got plenty of it. They got plenty of that money. You feel me?
Now they do. I'm a little different camp with the guaranteed money. I think you got to be a guy, which I think Kyle Hamilton is.
Mm-hmm.
I think football. Obviously, I create that 53-man roster, right? So players regress every single year. And so to me, some guys are not maybe guaranteed it, or you need contingencies in there. But yeah, in terms of Kyle Hamilton, like, like, that's a guy that can kind of do everything. He could play from the table. He can get down into the box, right? He can play man, right? He can play zone. Those types of defenders are really good, man. That you can kind of, because you can morph your defense a lot. You can be what you need to be. I know we talked about coaching a little bit. Like, sometimes you have to decide what you're going to be. Like, are you going to be a man coverage team? But if you're a team that can mix in between man and zone, you can kind of flow like water, right? 1 week, if they got great receivers, maybe you're going to play more zone, right? Or if they have great receivers, but maybe they're not, the fastest guys, maybe you'll play more man. I don't know. It varies. But with a guy like Kyle Hamilton, you could do everything, and you can blitz him. You can drop him into the box. So, I think it kind of allows, what the modern defense in the NFL does, right, to be at the peak of what it is, right, to sit it too high, play from depth, and force short throws, right? So, yeah, man, for a guy like that, you got to pay him. No question.
100%.
To me, if there's a combo of a guaranteed money guy and not a guaranteed money guy, he's a guaranteed money guy, right? And I'm sure even with that, we'd have to look at, but there's some contingencies in it.
Right. And I would assume maybe the market for that safety position starts to shift a bit, because as valuable as a pass rusher is, as valuable as a one-on-one corner on the boundaries is, as valuable as a run stuffing, pass disrupting defensive tackle like a Dexter Lawrence is, it's a dime a dozen when you have a safety that could do a lot of different things. And especially now that a lot of teams play in that nickel package, you need a safety that could play the slot, who could play in the box, who could play play single high. If you ain't got one of those, you're gonna be looking around for that. And that's something the Packers did with Xavier McKinney, and which was one of the biggest pickups that they made last season, with also Josh Jacobs. But of course, as everybody already knows, and I'm excited. I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna hold it. I'm gonna wear my hat for this. I'm excited because they signed Micah Parsons. And you know what, bro? I think it was like August 1st. I saw the little rumors popping up and whatever, and I was like, and obviously Packers Twitter ain't gonna listen to me. There's plenty of Packers people in their mentions, in their DMs. But I was like, he would look good in green and gold. And I wasn't old enough to see Reggie White sign with the Packers, but I knew he played for them because I obviously watched that Super Bowl. He won the championship with them, and that was one of their biggest signings because, as many don't know, that team is publicly they're owned by the people. They don't have an owner. People buy stocks of the team. They have a CEO. They actually have a rule which I wish our political system would implement. Once the CEO hits 70, he has to go. Here's your pension plan. Thank you, CEO. I appreciate you. You out of here. They got a new CEO. They literally got the new CEO took
So
over
not like Jerry Jones.
bingo. Exactly. Not like Jerry Jones. And I don't feel comfortable with de facto GMs. And I actually don't feel comfortable with my owner butting in front office decisions. Cut the check. Do me a favor and cut the check. Jerry Jones, you didn't do anybody no favors without cutting that check. Like, he had an opportunity to sign Micah Parsons last season for one, right? He decided, no, I'll just wait. Oh, you waited. Look at Garrett got paid, Watt got paid, even Hendrickson, who didn't really want to be in Cincinnati because they weren't playing ball with him. He eventually got a pay raise for the year. And then, of course, all those other pass rushers last season that went in free agency, they were getting paid too. So Michael Parsons played it smooth. He was like, oh, that's still my boy, Jerry. He's going to hook me up, whatever. And then Jerry started playing games. He already played games with Dak. He played games with CD. And he was better off keep playing games with CD. You could kind of play along with the whole wide receiver thing. Your quarterback, your pass rusher, I don't know if you want to play those type of games. Those guys don't usually go in free agency ever, and if they do, you played the wrong game. You feel me? So I'm excited. He got signed to a 4-year, I believe it was 4-year, 188 million with 120 million guarantee or 120 million signing bonus. So the Packers, the owners, the people, their stocks or whatever it is, however they make that money, went straight to that man day one, and he's ready to play. So I want to get your input on the deal. I've been hearing people saying, "Oh, the Packers gave too much." I don't know. I don't know if 2 first rounders and a Kenny Clark is too much. I think that's a undervalue to a kid who's a 2-time All Pro. He was a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year in his rookie season. He still got 12 sacks. He had 12 sacks last season in 13 games, and he missed a good portion of the season when they needed him. And you can nitpick if you want about his performances in big games, which I think I've seen him in some big games where he played very well. He didn't have a good playoff game against the Packers, so be it who didn't in Dallas. Like, he's still a 26-year-old pass rusher who could actually, and if you remember, he didn't come to the league as a pass rusher. He came into the league as just a stand-up linebacker. He was just an outside, weak side linebacker. He wasn't really put in that position until he went to the combine, until the Dallas Cowboys decided, hey, he looks like more of a Swiss Army knife. Like, we could play him anywhere and just be successful. But how do you feel about the signing? Nobody needs to really know how I feel. I'm wearing the hat. I'm probably gonna wear the hat even more often. I'm ready for all the smoke because everybody's gonna be talking this shit anytime they lose a game. Anytime he stumbles and he sprains his ankles, some people are gonna be in my mentions. I'm ready for all the smoke. But how you feel about that signing or that
Yeah, I
trade?
mean, I don't know. I think if you're a Packers fan, you're obviously gonna be excited, right? Like, I think anytime a guy like Michael Parsons brings a big name, right? Like, we were talking contracts, and so I was like, I want to look a little closer. Like, Kyle Hamilton's around on average 25 mil a year.
Mm-hmm.
Mike is 45. I think he reset the market, right? So in terms of excitement, I mean, I think everyone's got to be excited about new names. I honestly believe the deal's probably mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
Like, I would guess, like, whatever's going on, disgruntled or whatnot. And listen, I'm not trying to bring it down to earth. I do think that maybe there
No, you
are some.
should go for it.
I do think there are some cause for concerns with Micah, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's definitely struggled in run defense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a question, right, of how focused he is, right, in terms of a leader of your organization. I think that's tough, right? So who are you getting, right? And that's the whole question. There's no question that he's a dynamic talent, right? And so I think sometimes, right, like, it just made sense. Like, the Cowboys, like, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but let's go get 2 first round picks, right? And let's get back a good interior guy that will be solid. We just picked up George Pickens, right? Are we going to have a dynamic passing attack, right? And so maybe we're going to be more of an
I think they will.
offensive-minded team.
Yeah.
We can draft young for defense, reset some contracts. Maybe now they can pay Pickens. Maybe they can go the Bengals route, right? Two top-tier receivers. Because we were talking about contracts. Like, I don't think Dak's lived up to the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. And so for CD, last year he's kind of banged up. So we're going to find out if those guys are worth their contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for the Cowboys, it's hedging a little bit, getting younger in some areas. And then for the Packers, I think, I don't know. They've kind of swung and missed with some wide receivers. I know they went there again this year. They're probably going to let a guy like Christian Watson or somebody walk. And then, yeah, let's spend some money on defense. Let's go get us an elite defensive player, play in our scheme. And hopefully it works out for both teams.
Yeah. And I mean, we were supposed to record a few days ago, and it was honestly on the day it happened, in which, yeah, I would have probably been more OD than this. But nonetheless, this was not even part of the script to begin with. So I had to make some changes on some of the stuff that we are going to talk about. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, even with Jordan Love, like, I love Jordan Love in the sense of, like, he's just your prototypical NFL quarterback of today. We talked about the four guys from the last episode. After those four guys and maybe even Jalen Hurts, everybody's somewhat of a question mark. They either haven't performed in the playoffs, they benefited off of the roster they've had, which is not their fault. We shouldn't. I don't think it's fair to do that to players in a team game and fault them for having great talent around them. The goal for a quarterback is to make the talent better around you, right? And we have some guys who are still, in my opinion, like, yes, Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix had great rookie seasons, but they were rookies. They're seasoned rookies. They played a lot of college football. We have the Drake Mays of the world that, still a 22-year-old kid. We don't know what we're going to get with him. And things are kind of accelerating too quickly because of they shoot for the stars for Bledsoes, and Dak somehow came out of the woodwork. Like, they were fortunate to get some quarterbacks, but they haven't even made it to an NFC championship since the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So who knows what the Pats are going to be like, but unfortunately for Drake May, he's gonna have to deal with Mac Jones dealt with. How good are you? Are you like the GOAT? Are you close to that? And it's unfortunate, but that's just the quarterback situation. And I said this in one of my podcast episodes a couple years ago. I feel like everybody's like Kirk Cousins to me. Great. You're good. You're just as good as the team around you, and you're probably gonna make some playoffs, and you're gonna make a lot of money. But you ain't gonna win those Super Bowls. You ain't gonna win those big games, and that's just the reality. That's why when people talk their shit, in my opinion, I get it. You could talk all your shit you want, but how many guys outside of Mahomes and Jalen Hurts right now, and even maybe you could say Burrow and those other two, how many of those guys are really successful in the playoffs, or better yet, in the whole season? Not many. They're gonna put up the numbers because the league is built for numbers. It is. And quarterbacks are gonna get paid.
I'm gonna give you a perfect situation. Let's use Matthew Stafford. Right? Like, this is a stat king for years, played with a Hall of Fame talent in Detroit.
Yep.
Ultimately, never really did anything, right? We never threw him in that group. You get him with a great play caller. You get him in an offensive system, right, that allows him to do a little bit more. Good young aggressive defense or veteran defense when they did win. Then you go out there and get it. So I think some of it's alignment, right? Like, they played the Bengals that were really young in their first Super Bowl. I think last year there was snowstorm, like, not to disrespect the Eagles, right? They'd probably be one of my favorites this year. But I think if there's not a snowstorm, Matthew Stafford gets through that last year. And ultimately, he's been an older guy by the time he joined the Rams. But I think if you could have got Stafford with a guy like that, and so I think, like, it's a lot of stuff. Like, you got to be a good football player. I think you have to be in the right fit. I think guys
Mhm.
around you got to make the right decisions. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, I think that's kind of what dictates somebody's career. Like, great players are going to be here, like you kind of said, like that Kirk Cousins is type thing, right? But to get multiple Super Bowls, right, you're going to need an all-time great coach. You're going to need an all-time great quarterback, and you're going to need some really good generational players. And when we're talking about Brady, you're probably going to need 2 to 3 series of it because it's going to span 20 something years.
Yeah.
That's what's tough, and we've talked about it a little bit. Like, I don't know. I'm a betting man, and I will bet you Patrick Mahomes will probably get a second dynasty at some point, but maybe Brady created unrealistic expectations, for QBs.
Oh yeah, and I don't think and speaking of Mahomes, I don't think he's gonna be done winning championship. But if it is if the what is it now? He's at 3, 4. He's at
3.
4, 3. If it's just 3, yeah, obviously he won't be in no goat conversation, but he's up there. He's one of the greatest that we've watched. Like who would have thunk that kid from Texas Tech was gonna win 3 championships? Well, you could say what you want, but like you said, another example of a guy who went to a system. He was birthed in the system of Andy Reid. This is what Andy Reid was praying for all his life when he had Donovan McNabb. It never worked. So it it ended up working in his favor. So
And the stars aligned for that too. You know what I'm saying? Like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. They were already a playoff team with Alex Smith. And then we've gotten to see this new version. That's what's probably more impressive with Patrick Mahomes. I think the Super Bowl was disappointing because to get blown out that badly, I felt they were doing too much or
yeah,
not doing some of the stuff that they had done over the last couple years. But they really didn't have a lot of talent. Right? And I think it's I'm not a huge Xavier Worthy guy. Like I don't like this is
yeah,
not
right.
a guy that I think is gonna be a generational wide receiver. Rasheed Rice, maybe, right? Like that's probably a guy I'd lean on to be more of a consistent 1,000-yard guy. But they don't, and Kelsey's getting old. Like, let's be real. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not he'll have moments because he's that smart,
Yeah,
but he's not the guy that
he's
you can just go to over and over again.
he's a tight end, man. Like tight end, he's the size of a undersized outside offensive tackle,
Yeah.
and
6'5",
he's running a
250, man.
7, and he's getting tackled by freaking linebackers and safeties that want to take out your knees, just like Grunt dealt with. It's the same shit. It's just he's a little more finesse. Obviously, he doesn't block
Yeah,
like
they
Grunt can.
flex him. They get in some different sets a little bit. They'll go wide off with him, but like, yeah, he's a tight end, man, and he's 35, 36. And like, listen, man, I'm not saying it's not doable, but I'm sure the man has put a lot of time into his marriage or engagement, right?
Yeah,
Like that takes time, right? Like that comes out of football, right? Like that. So how locked in he is, I don't know, right? And I think he's trying to
yeah,
prepare for life after football, get into
oh, yeah,
Hollywood.
100%, 100%.
I don't know. I mean, this seems like a last hurrah for Kelsey.
Yeah, he might be. This might be the most locked in he's going to be. Like he's gonna
Maybe
probably
he's
he's
got
gonna
a plan for a wedding now.
yeah, he's gonna get locked in now because he's like, I'm done after this. Like it's Super Bowl bust for me. And matter of fact, it's Super Bowl, or if we don't make it, so be it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's got
out.
to be Super Bowl bust for
Yeah,
sure.
he's done. Like he even said that he gained weight last year, which obviously you were traveling the world with your girl. Like like we knew that. I'm saying like even Mahomes, his wife was pregnant again, and he gained some weight. So these dudes were just on. Like the fact that they made it to a Super Bowl last year, they were on vacation most of the year. Like it's just crazy. Like it
Well,
doesn't make
they
sense.
Spags put together a really good defense. I mean, we don't need to revisit everything, but if I think about the playoffs last year, like he stumped some guys. He
Yeah,
got the Bills on that big play of the game, right? Blitz in a condensed formation, right? We've talked about it. I think the Ravens just do it to themselves anyways, but they got the Ravens.
no, yeah,
They get teams to I feel like the way they play defense over the last couple of years, it really dictated what offenses have done,
yeah,
right? Like they've gotten the Ravens to throw the ball a lot. And I know everyone thinks Lamar, it's like, okay, I get it, bro, but they're a run the ball team. And
yeah.
they got that. And then even in the Super
You
Bowl.
got Henry for a reason. You don't get Henry
Yep.
just to pass the ball.
Yep. And against the Bills, like, they just got Josh Allen to make that one mistake, right? That one mistake, that blitz off the edge. They run a lot of condensed formation, especially to the solo side receiver. And then you even look at the Eagles, right? And what happened in the Super Bowl, the offense, I thought, never did a job. Like, because people forget, and I'm not trying to go crazy here, but Jalen Hurts threw an interception early in that game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Mahomes and them never did anything offensively to reapply pressure back on them. And then, Jalen Hurts, toodles to him. They loaded the box, played man coverage, did a great job putting the balls. But that's also, I think, respect to what Jalen Hurts can do beyond just being a runner. And I think at the same time too, you have two major wide receivers out there in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. They won those routes. They won those matchups. They won those vertical routes.
Yeah, those one-on-ones were right there for the picking for those two.
Oh, they fried them.
Yeah, because
They fried them.
if you're gonna struggling to stop, if you're scared of Saquon, you're scared of the Jalen Hurts keeper, you're gonna account for it by bringing more than the amount that you need. So that means you're gonna have to single up on the outsides, which that's
Or
hey
just
man.
or just honestly just keeping backers tight to their fit. Like when you live in the world of cover three or in man coverage, that's gonna keep those linebackers. They're not gonna get bumped out too much. When you start to play quarters and other structures, those gaps change a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my experience with the benefits of playing in man or playing in cover three is keeping those backers tighter to their fits, not expanding and having them cover too much space. So, respect to what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. And while I know we'll talk about QBs later, I think Hurts is, probably off of that, we got to be knocking at the door.
Yeah. With all that being said, we're talking about the Eagles right now, and we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on and uh, speak on the NFC just quickly. The NFC is not as strong and attractive like the AFC is. The AFC probably has a good amount. There's 15 teams in the AFC, and we can say about 12 of them are somewhat 10 to 12 of them are somewhat exciting enough to watch or to pay attention to. In the NFC, I mean, you can almost say there's maybe 8. There's like at least 2 each division. Maybe there's 3 in the NFC North, maybe the whole NFC North and majority of the NFC East. And then there's maybe 1 in the West and 1 in the South, in my opinion.
The NFC is weird. More
It is
defensive style football.
very,
You
and which
know,
is, here's the thing. That's the dope thing about conferences in sports. And throughout my life, I just like with basically across in sports with baseball used to be so unique because, and that's why they're losing a lot of love. The NL used to be let allow the pitchers to hit, and it was a more methodical game in the NL because you had to game plan for your pitcher and your pinch hitter was important and all that other shit. A lot of your better power hitters that were like 5 tool players were in the AL, like an A-Rod and a Ken Griffey Jr. and you name it. That was the beauty of baseball in the late 90s and most of baseball's history, but they've gone away from that. The NFL is pretty much been kind of the same throughout the years, since the early 2000s. He always had the GOAT, somewhat the prototypical GOAT quarterbacks that you had to, like, they were the gauntlet. You had to find a way to get through them to make it to a Super Bowl. Whereas the NFC, as we know, there was maybe like Brady went against 5 different quarterbacks in his Patriot career in the Super Bowl, and he lost to. And however you feel about Eli Manning, he's in most seasons he was pretty mediocre, but he lost to Nick Foles and fucking Eli Manning. You know what I'm saying? Like, however you want to cut it, those were the ones he was facing in the Super Bowl.
great grade A defenses.
Right, and exactly. They had defenses that were built. Although that Eagles game was a shootout, they made the biggest defensive plays when it mattered. Even when Brady broke that record for his the quarterback record in that game. But with all that being said, yeah, I have a top 7 for the NFC. I do want to kind of go over some stuff with the NFC as well, and we're gonna go through predictions towards the end of the episode. But right now, for my top 7, I do have the Cowboys at 7. I'm going to give them grace because I think that offense, however you want to look at it, I get it. And I was talking to a coworker today, and he was like, they don't have a running game like that. And I'm like, to be honest with you, who really has running games in the NFL besides the true few that we know, like the Eagles or Baltimore, and you could even see the Packers and the Rams. Those teams, the teams that have good running games is because their offensive coach, they play off the run. Even when they pass the ball a lot, it's off the run. Like you've mentioned it before. You're a big fan of LaFleur's offense, of how he uses his tight ends and all that stuff. And the same thing that McVay does and Shanahan. they do a very good job of making sure they have 11 personnel and 12 personnel out there and not taking away from the illusion of knowing that you have a running back there. And that's something the Ravens may need to figure out at some point, hopefully this season, is that you got to make sure people respect that run game. And that's what the NFC is big on. They have probably the best running games in the NFC with the Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, the Eagles, and the Packers. But that's not to say that the Cowboys are just going to be passing all over the place. They're going to run the ball. They are. You have to keep the other teams honest. You got to crunch the clock. If you're going to, if you're playing a team that's tough to beat, if your defense is struggling, if you're smart enough as a head coach, your defense is struggling, you need to find a way to keep that ball in your hand. So there's other ways to mimic the run game by like jet sweeps now, because that's the NFL nowadays. Quick hitches, all that shit. So I got the Cowboys at 7. Number 6, I got the Bucks. I really do like that offense with Mayfield. Number 5 is the Rams. Pending whatever's going on with Stafford, I don't know what's going on there with the back. When you talking about, and you know yourself, you've had back issues throughout your life because of football. Having a back injury is nothing to fuck with. Like, that's a lingering situation. That's not something that just suddenly, oh, I woke up today and I feel great, my back's good. You could just be walking 1 mile and then all of a sudden you get a back spasm. Like, it's just the reality of life. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're talking about slip disc and all that other shit. That's scary. But we'll see how that looks this coming weekend. Then I have number 4, the Commanders. I know a lot of people have been chatting like, oh, it was a fluke. They got there to the NFC Championship, and they had to have a Hail Mary against the Bears, and they had to have this or that. Listen. Football is a game of chess, man. The game ain't over to the quadruple zeros. For anyone to sit there and talk all that shit about how a team got lucky, there's nothing about you have. For one, you do have to have a little bit of luck to be successful, right? And 2, don't take that away from Jaden Daniels and them boys. They did a great job. Dan Quinn did a great job with that team. And I don't think it was a fluke that they spanked the shit out of the Detroit Lions, who were the favorites to win to make the Super Bowl. So let's be honest right now. Okay. So I got them at number 4. I do still have the Lions at number 3, or at least in the top 3, but they're number 3. I don't know what it's going to look like with their pass rush. Aiden Hutchinson's coming back. They lost both coordinators, so sometimes, as a Patriot fan, you've seen many coordinators go in and out of that system, and at times it affects what happens next unless you find the next one that works. And that happened to the Chiefs at one point when Matt Nagy left and they missed a year, or better yet, when forget. I'm trying to remember his name. Bieniemy, when he left that year, they lost. They didn't. I believe they won, but they didn't win this past season with Matt Nagy. But nonetheless, like, sometimes your coordinators has to be just as important as your coach. You just can't take that chance, and you can't assume that, because X, Y, or Z left, it's all the magic's still there. Sometimes it changes up. But yeah, I got the Lions at number 3. Number 2, and this is only because this is post Parsons trade. I had the Packers lower than this. They were in my top 7, but they weren't number 2. I have to put them in there. I have to. And what made it easier for me to put them there yesterday, I was listening to someone talk about this, and this was true. Although Jordan Love has a thumb situation on his left hand, I don't think it's gonna affect him as much if he just gets it out of his head. Last season, after that Brazil game where he missed like a game and a half or whatever, and then he was like missing. He did miss some other games. He missed at least 2.5 games. You missed him for 2.5 games for one. So those games were tough. They still won some games. They lost some other games that they should have won. They didn't have They didn't have a Micah Parsons in any of those teams. They had receivers that had like cement for gloves. So it was a lot of issues going on with that team, and they still managed to win 11 games. If you're telling me right now, this same roster that I would assume improved because this is a year older, of the youngest team in the NFL, another thing people forget, adding an all-pro defensive player. I'm not even calling him a pass rusher because he's just an all-pro defensive player. You can't tell me that they're going to be suddenly some washed-up version of that team of last year. And mind you, that schedule was tough last season. Now they still have a pretty tough schedule this season, but I'm not gonna be here to like prove to people that Jordan Love is to be respected or whatever. He's just one of the he's in the mid tier of quarterbacks in my opinion. But I do believe because he's a good leader for that team, and he also is exactly what LaFleur prefers for a quarterback. He can put up some crazy fucking numbers when he's healthy, and we've seen that before. So I got them at number 2, and I'm going to go with the Eagles number 1. I'm not going to disrespect the champs. They lost a lot of players though, so we'll know a lot about this team in the first couple months. The first month of the season, I don't really know what I'm seeing. Everything's kind of like we're working it through. We don't have a fourth preseason. We're just lollygagging. We're just finding a way to stay healthy enough to get to the midseason, whatever. So we don't know what we're really gonna get out of the Eagles, but I got them at number 1. As far as who my dark horse is for the season, I'm gonna go with the Giants. I'm gonna do it again. A bum team. I'm gonna choose a bum team. The reason I choose them is because no matter what,
I feel like the list you're giving, the Packers got to be a dark horse.
nah, no, don't do that. That could be your dark horse. That ain't
Nah, I
really my
got it.
dark horse.
Packers at 2 would have to be a dark horse to me. Packers at
Nah,
2
bro.
got to be a dark horse to me.
I'm gonna tell you why,
That's
bro.
a huge jump. That's a huge jump.
It can be if the way it depends how you look at it, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
nah, I look at the Giants as a dark horse only for this reason. You got at least 2 veteran quarterbacks. They don't want to lose games. Let's be honest. If they really wanted to lose games, they would let Dart play. I'm not saying Dart's gonna be bad.
You don't
I
have to
like,
want to lose games to lose them. I'll tell you that.
but
You
I
can
don't
show
think
up
it.
every day
I don't think.
wanting to. You can show up every single day wanting to win and still lose.
I know. I understand. We get it. You and I understand that firsthand. But I'm just saying, the reality is, if they really didn't care about winning, I would say you start the kid. That's just my point. And even if he does end up starting, he's actually not. He looks the part, in my opinion. Even though it's preseason, he looked pretty legit. And then you still have Neighbors. That defense, I think that's the other thing people are failing to understand. That defense has a 3-headed monster on that defensive line, or a 4-headed monster. You're talking about Lawrence, Burns, Thibodeau. Thibodeau is his name, and Carter. That is kind of ugly. That's scary looking. You better have an Eagles offensive line to feel comfortable going into East Rutherford to play that team. That's my opinion. And if you have Russ, at least he's gonna give you a few games. When he's a serious, he takes this. He wouldn't have gone there. He would have figured something else out. He probably would have rather retired if that was the case. He's
Yep.
in New York. He wants all the smoke. So I think they'll challenge teams at the very least, and I'll be excited to see them be competitive at least. I'm not picking them for no playoff run or some magical season like the Commanders did last season. So I just see them as a dark horse, as a team that if you do sports betting, you probably don't want to choose a bet against them if you're betting the spread or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
but as far as a team that regressing team, I would probably go with the Niners, and it's not because of Shanahan or, you know, I don't want to be an asshole and said like, Brock Purdy's gonna regress. They ain't the same type of team. Like McCaffrey's gonna be McCaffrey, Kittle's gonna be Kittle, Fred Warner's gonna be Fred Warner. Nick Bosa's gonna be Nick Bosa, but I think they're in that point of they're in that transitional point where it's like we need to figure out what kind of team we are now. We've got rid of Debo. We don't know how our receiving core is gonna look going forward. It's just a lot of unknowns right now. So that's why a lot of people are looking at the Rams. It's only because the Niners don't really look like the same team as we are accustomed to, but we just don't know yet. So my assumption would be that they're going to regress. And it's not like a huge regression. It's just like the usual playoff berth that they usually get, which they didn't have last season, is probably going to be another year without that, especially that they paid Purdy. Who you got for a
Yeah.
top 7?
Yeah, I'll pick from now. I mean, I'll go with I don't know how you go. I can't go in a particular order because I just think like. But what I will say, I think the Lions and the Eagles they'll compete for the number one spot. I do think that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Lions will be fine. Like, yeah, is losing Ben Johnson something? Sure, but I think Ben Johnson also inherited some very, very good products. Like, Jared Goff is a very fundamentally sound, good passing quarterback. He's just not elite, right? So he can do all those little things in terms of orchestrating a team. And then I think at the end of the day, it's not like they lost Dan Campbell, right? Like that is their persona. Like they're gonna go for it on 4th and 3, right? Like they're a mean, nasty football team. So I think that's in place, and I like the kid, Tesla, whatever the receiver that they have. I think he'll fit right into that type of system and be able to, really make an impact. And they already have a ton of weapons, so I see the Lions being there. Will they ever win a Super Bowl? I don't know, right? I think that's a Jared Goff question, but they'll be there. Eagles, I expect that their core of the defense is young, right? So like that nastiness is going to be there. How do you handle success, right? Like, I guess that's their question. Commanders, I have them getting into the playoffs. When I think about the NFC East, like I'm not high on the Giants, not on the short term. The Cowboys, I don't know. Like I'm just, and then so yeah, I think the Commanders, they'll get in there. They'll figure it out, under the Eagles. 49ers, I'm big on. Honestly, I think last year was the down year. I think they reloaded the deck. I think that's what they did. Like, I know Jennings kind of banged up, but he's a solid receiver, knows how to play. This is second year for Ricky Pearsall. I would expect him to be really good. They just got Brian Robinson. So it's like, okay, now we got a backup running back that can spell CMC. Fred Warner, like the core of their defense, I think is there. And I think just coach's personality. Like we can talk about Kyle Shanahan not winning the game, but that's a team that runs the ball, right? That's a team that's mean and nasty. Like I think Brock Purdy gets paid not because he's the best quarterback, but because he fits that system. He knows how to audible. He knows how to make the adjustments. And he can make the types of throws in the soft parts of the middle of the defense that maybe some quarterbacks don't traditionally make it. As I'm going down further on the list, like, yeah, I'm worried about Matthew Stafford's back, but I just think McVay will always be a competent coach. I think their defense is very similar to the Eagles in terms of a lot of young studs out there. Maybe not as talented, but I would expect them to be there, right? We have to pick an NFC South team, right? Like, there's going to have to be an NFC South team that makes the playoffs. I'm just gonna go Falcons. I don't know. They have a lot of weapons. Like the Bucks, I wanted to say them, but they're getting older, right? Like Mike Evans at some point, right? He's getting older. Chris Godwin, like I don't know. Mecca, like that's a good rookie. And then Baker's just kind of been like this his whole career. It's unfortunate because I'm a Todd Bowles guy. I really, really like Todd Bowles, but I just don't know what's left in the, in the Bucks. Is Tristan Wirfs going to be healthy? Bucky Irvin, that's not a generational running back. He runs hard. He'll have a good couple seasons, but like, so I picked the Falcons. And then, when we get down to that last spot, like, and I guess this is what I think dark horse, I think Vikings. And the reason why I say that is because I think we're writing them off because of JJ McCarthy, right? But they just picked up Thielen. They got Anderson, Addison will be back after the suspension. They got Tyler Hawkinson, right? Obviously, Justin
Jenna.
Jefferson's the beast. Their defense, I thought confused the hell out of teams last year, right? Like that, like, you know what I'm saying? And if we're not, if the NFC lacks elite quarterback play, then a defense that can really screw around in funky, zero and quarter shells, right? Good luck. So I think the Vikings are going to make a push for the NFC first or second seed, and I could see them making a run in the playoffs. I think you have to limit what JJ McCarthy has to do, but that's who I have. I guess the Bears would be my honorable mention because they're so talented as well too. But I
Yeah.
just think that people are going to need to temper their expectations with Ben Johnson being a first-time head coach with a unpolished quarterback that can do a lot of fun things. So that's where
Yeah.
I'm at with the NFC.
No, and I'm not mad. I mean, I'm assuming those were kind of your dark horses, those two teams. Did you point out who you would point out as a regressing team from last year? Probably the Bucks, I would assume, just because you kind of
Yeah,
like
Bucks. I guess Bucks would be the regression. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to say regression because somebody's always going to disappoint.
right.
And so, but
And
yeah, yeah,
and you're right. It's very possible. Like even with me, like being on my high right now with the Packers, like I want all the smoke for sure, but they could regress. You know what I'm saying? They could be just a 10 or 9 win team because there's still question marks. They don't have a quarterback that I could say, yeah, he's a shutdown guy. They don't have I think their offensive line is serviceable. They have some guys like Tom that they just paid, and they just paid for Aaron Banks. I don't know. I don't know him like that. I don't know if he's an all pro guy. And they don't have, and this was something that I always yelled and screamed about. They don't have, I don't care what anybody tells me about Christian Watson, Dontavius Wicks, Jaden Reed. I don't care
it's
what anybody
golden.
tells me.
It's golden now.
Well, it is golden. I love the kid because I could see it. I
feel like
it.
I've seen this movie with the Packers, though. A highly drafted wide receiver just doesn't pan out.
Right. And that was Javon Walker. But that was the last time they got a first round pick a wide receiver. But don't tell me anything about them dudes or Romeo Dobbs. They're not. If you put them guys in those names in front of you, can you say when it's third down? I know I'm throwing the one. I feel confident with those guys. Do you feel confident with those names on third down?
No, I don't. But
exactly.
to me, that's why I would say the Packers would have to be the dark horse if they make a run.
Right,
like,
and I agree with you.
Josh Jacobs is the only thing, and Micah now, that I'd be like, yeah, like that.
Yeah, it changes the forecast a little bit because if we're talking about the other NFC North teams, and I'm going to big them up even though I fucking hate them, they have those guys. They have a Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have a DJ Moore. They have a Jetta. They have a Addison. You know what I'm saying? Even a Thielen. Thielen is like, I can't explain who he is, but he's just a guy who just knows how to get open. Those are my favorite type of receivers.
Yep.
Like I love Tyreek Hill, burner. I love burners because I was a fast guy growing up. But at the end of the day, why did Tom Brady win championships? He had the guys who knew how to get open. Edelman, Amendola, the names go on. Even when they weren't going to, like, even his last season with Jacoby Myers, who was a quarterback in college, learned, same as Edelman, how to get fucking open when a route is given to them in whatever coverage they're in. So it's like, or even Welker and those guys, like, it's just those type of receivers, you could find them to be more reliable than a guy like a DK Metcalf who can, yes, win the one-on-one balls, but he's gonna fumble that shit too. You feel me? But yeah, that's the NFC. The NFC is muddled up a little bit. We know who we are more than likely going to see at the very end. But before we get into our predictions, but we do have our top players, top quarterbacks. Me and Coach JB, we're gonna go over our top 10 quarterbacks, our top 10 receivers, and our top 10 defensive players. But yeah, before we go ahead and do those top 10s, again, I'm definitely I'm a realist when it comes to my Packers football. I'm one of those that I'm quite reserved as a fan. I will voice my love for the team. But I always will voice my love for the sport before I voice my love for my team. And probably the one sports team I will absolutely invest on, including the Red Sox. But the Packers will always tug on my heart no matter what, and no one's gonna really be able to change that, in my opinion. I got Coach JB back.
Oh, it all messed up.
It's all good. But yeah, we're gonna go over our top 10. We're just gonna go quick with it. I don't want to get into too much detail. I think the names will always speak for themselves. If there's somebody specifically that you are on your list because of a personal reason and why, because we both watch. I think we watch football differently than some people. They watch it we both do fantasy football. I bet on football as well. So I probably will watch it, but I'm very good at like multitasking with that shit. I don't get like I could focus on it and be like, oh yeah, fantasy, like my fantasy wide receiver's doing this, blah blah blah. But I actually want to watch guys play football. Like I wish there was a time when I was able to access the all 22, where you could actually see like the shits. Like you could really see how the play's developing from above. because I had if you have the NFL not the red zone but the NFL package, it also
Yep.
includes like the NFL.com package. It also includes the all 22, so you can actually see everything the same way they see it, like when like John Gruden goes and says all the does all his
Yeah, the
X,
all
Y,
22
Z.
hit different for sure.
Yeah, if you have an all 22, you could really talk about some football. Like
Yeah. Well,
watching
that's
some
the
highlights. Yeah, watching some highlights and picking up on some shit that has a bunch of commercials. It's tough. It's hard because at the end of the day, and I know people's conspiracy is that the NFL is rigged because it's an entertainment. No,
no way.
you
Not the way
can't
these
rig.
players get cut.
Yeah,
You can't
no,
rig football.
you can't rig football. The entertainment is the music they play, the time they give you, the halftime show. That is what the entertainment business provides to you via football, the NFL, college football. These guys, especially now with college football, these guys probably will take it more seriously because money's on the line finally. Like I'm gonna if I need to get this money. I'm from the depths of Louisiana. I need to make sure my mom is out that trailer park. That's what these guys are thinking about. So for people out there to really, yeah, I get it. Sports gambling is more accessible out here, but you think these motherfuckers really give a goddamn about what we're betting on? They don't care. If anything, it might motivate them. Oh, you say I can only get 70 yards? I'm gonna get 100. I don't give a fuck who lost or who won bread from me. I'm gonna get 100. But that's neither here or there. But we're gonna go over our top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 receivers, and top 10. I said defenders. It doesn't necessarily have to be all defensive line. I know defensive ends or pass rushers and cornerbacks get all the love, but there's also other positions on the NFL on an NFL defensive team, defensive 11. But you want me to start? Or you want to start?
I'll go and then I'll just go through. I'll just go through it all, right? I'll kind of break down,
Yeah,
and then
go
you
ahead.
go through,
Yeah,
you pick it,
go ahead.
whatever. Um, so I same thing as earlier. I can't do 10 QBs. I could do 5. Because that fifth spot is a toss up. Like I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
give it to Hurts because he's a proven winner. I think he does have more help than other guys. Like I know guys are gonna jump up and be like, oh, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, or they're gonna look at it and be like, well, look at the guys that Lamar Jackson has, Derrick Henry or whatever. But Hurts got the best weapons, but he is a proven winner. He did make the plays in the Super Bowl that he had to make. No one else has made those plays in the last recent years, with the exception of Patrick Mahomes. So I gotta put Jalen Hurts. And then, we've said it over again. It's the big four. It's Burrow, it's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Lamar. I think you can, that those are my top 5. I think you can say, hey, Herbert, CJ, right? You can say JD. Obviously Stafford's been really good. It's the flavor of the month. Who's gonna have a good year? Tua's had an amazing year. But the 5 guys that I think are just straight game changers are the big 4, and then Jalen Hurts, based on his Super Bowl performance, to me deserves to be the 5th quarterback. But I don't think that's like a lock by any measure. For wide receivers, I mean, it's a flavor thing. I mean, you got 20 something guys could be ballers. Like I got guys like Mike Evans, I think on my list out of respect, but he, at any day he's not going to be in there. But I think AJ Brown might be like, the best receiver, if not one of the best. He's just in a different system.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins if he stays hungry. I think Malik Neighbors is up there with that Jamar Chase S type receiver of being able to do anything. CD obviously is right there. Amram, what he's done in the Lions has to put him, in that. And then, the other guy that I would have, Puka for sure, right? And I think the Ram system allows that, and the other guy that I'm going to put there is T. Higgins, right? And I think part of that is just, well, you could say, well, he plays along Jamar Chase and he's got probably the best pure passer in Joe Burrow. But I mean, T. Higgins had double-digit touchdowns last year,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like he had more receiving yards than AJ Brown. So to me, I mean, I love watching that guy. He's 6'4", he's big, whatever.
And people
Fantastic receiver. So that's my
and
10.
not to cut you off too, but people forget when Burrow came to the league, he came to the league with T. Higgins. Like he came as a rookie, and T. Higgins was a rookie, so they were able to build a relationship with each other by the grace of God because of him getting hurt. Burrow, I'm speaking mid-season. They tanked enough to get Jamar Chase in the top 5, so that's why it made sense for Mike Brown to set his pride aside and actually pay all 3 of your best
Yeah, they
assets.
they got something special. I hope they can get it done. It's gonna. If you like offensive football, you should just enjoy the Bengals. That's it. That's just what it is. So that's my 10 for guys on the odd man out. Rashee Rice, we'll see. I definitely think he could be. I think some of that is also the pass catch, the guys throwing the ball. I think Drake London over breakout year, but I can't put him in the top 10 just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Wilson's another one that could easily be knocking at the door, but you're just not going to see it playing with Justin Fields. He's had no continuity at quarterback. That's not changing this season. So those are three guys that I looked at that weren't in the top 10 that could. So defensive players are tough, man. I feel like this list is terrible a little bit because it probably showed my bias because I only have Fred Warner as the only linebacker I have on this list.
Yeah.
But
I'll be honest with you, he's my only person on my list too. That's not a pass rusher.
And I guess Micah Parsons to me is kind of a pass rush type linebacker type scenario. So, that would be my next guy on the list. But, I'm going game changers. Myles Garrett, a guy that, it's going to take two guys to block him. TJ Watt, a guy who can play two different gaps and drop in coverage a little bit. Patrick Surtain is obviously there as a lockdown corner. Jalen Carter, like another guy in the interior, you just can't stop the push. Max Crosby obviously got to be on that. Kyle Hamilton for sure. So those are kind of my guys. Maybe Gonzo. Gonzo's the other guy as a lockdown corner. So to me, either you're a corner that eliminates somebody, you're a versatile safety, right? You're a guy that takes two guys to block you on the defensive line. That's always going to be great. You're going to screw protections up. The protection can't slide every way. That's a problem.
Yep.
So yeah, those are my guys, man. But the stuff fluctuates, right? Like next year, we'd
Right.
come on here
Yeah,
and there'd be a
everything
guy be
changes.
like, how why would be on your list?
There was once upon a time nobody knew who the fuck Amon-Ra St. Brian was in, and he started coming out doing his thing. So we know. I know I know you have to leave in a little bit, but just up in a flash, give me your DPOY, your OPOY, your MVP, your rookie, and your offensive DPOY and OPOY, and your prediction to the Super Bowl for this coming season, and who will win it.
Well, it sucks. Like Cam Ward's gonna win Offensive Rookie of the Year because he's quarterback, right?
Go for it. Yep.
I don't think Dart will get enough starts or Shador will get enough starts to take it. If it's not that, Henderson, right, from the Patriots, like if Cam Ward got something happen that he had to get benched, then I think Henderson will probably have the biggest season as a rookie. Offensive player of the year, man.
I
I'm
don't
going
think it's a
crazy
hard
here.
choice, my friend. I know
I'm gonna
you.
I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna go
You know
crazy,
who
right?
it is.
I'm gonna go Jamar Chase, offensive player of the year,
Okay.
and I'm gonna go
I was about to
MVP Joe
say,
Burrow. That's what I'm gonna do, man. That's
come
what I'm
on,
gonna do,
man.
man. I mean,
It's my
listen.
prediction too. Come on, man.
Hey man, if we had an award, T Higgins come get some too, man. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, it all fell down, man. It's that's what it keeps falling down, whatever. But that's what I would say, man. I mean, the Bengals got to do it this year. I know I don't got a Jamar Chase jersey. My daughter got one of those. Best pure passing attack. If that defense can just be all right, I think they'll right. I think the NFL wants to see them win awards, right? Like after the season they had last year, you don't want to not give those guys awards, but they just didn't have a good defense. And some of
Mm-hmm.
that I think is also on the offense to close those games out because I think Chase and Burrow are a part of some of those problems. Yeah, that's what I would say. And then if we go to the NFC side of the ball, it's tough, man. I mean, I could see Jaden Daniels winning it, right, on the NFC side. So
Offensive player of the year.
offensive player of the year. Um, it's tough, man. It's tough the candidates you have. It's hard. I'm not into like the awards thing. I'm too biased for it, and it's like it always comes down to like a win, right? Like who's in first place down the stretch.
The wins play a huge part into it. Yeah,
I mean, look at Derrick Henry's numbers. They're not all that different than Saquon's from last year.
I
Saquon got
know.
like 20 more carries. That's the difference.
Saquon was just more flashier. It was a flash, and it was just It was a team that
Henry
was just
just
really
he
damn
just
good.
missed 2,000. If you add the 20 carries he didn't get and you go but his yards per carry, he would have surpassed Saquon. And I think the reason we debated at the end, the reason why Lamar didn't win it was because the Bills, they secured that spot. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
number one
Just like
seed.
last year, Lamar got it because they secured that spot. The NFL cares about winning too much, for a guy to not be in first place and not come away with hardware.
100%. Who's your Super Bowl prediction?
Bengals, man.
Bengals to win it all against who?
I got Lions.
Okay. Okay.
Lions.
That's fair.
I think that's what we got. It's got Dan Campbell got to get one, man.
I hate. Ain't gonna love it because fuck the Lions, but I hate.
I can see some. You said earlier the Packers are young, man. I don't see it this year. Like Mike is young, right? Like you
They
know
have
what
a
I'm saying?
3-year
Like
window. The window's 3 years right now.
the window could
Officially.
be 8. It could be whatever. Like they're not old. And I'll leave you with that before I go. They're just super young. Josh Jacobs, the oldest guy that I know of, right? Like both their tight ends are young. Kraft is young. Their receiving core is young. You know what I'm saying? Their quarterback is young. You know,
Offensive
defensively,
line is young.
yeah, they just moved away from who's the corner that you guys sent.
Zaire.
Yeah, you let him. You know what I'm saying? So the Packers are young, man. They
But
need a veteran leader. I don't know where.
that's why I was hoping Devontae would come back. But I know you about to leave me. I'm gonna just drop my awards and I want to see your reactions when I drop my
All right,
awards and before and then you can leave and I'll just give everybody my top 10. But I got DPOY, I got Parsons. I get it. I'm getting a little too excited. But this reminds me of when Khalil Mack went from the Oakland, formerly known as Oakland Raiders, to the Bears after an All-Pro season, and he had absolutely one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen from a defensive player when he went over there. So I'm gonna compare it to that. My OPOY, I'm gonna go with Chase. I think he's gonna break a record. One of those records are breaking this year from this kid, because he should have broke it maybe last year, because he was that dynamic.
him to break a record, the Q got to break a record.
So wait for me now. Hold on now. Rookie DPOY, I'm gonna go with Carter. I think that the Giants will eventually get him. He just needs 8 sacks. If he gets 8 to 10 sacks, Jared Verse, I think, had less than 10 sacks and still won Defensive Player of the Year because he was just impactful for a defensive playoff team. But you don't have to be on a playoff team as a rookie to win those awards. OPOY, I'm gonna go with Hampton over in with the Chargers because Harbaugh loves to run the ball, and that's the type of team they need. They're gonna be. They're gonna be
So does
using
it?
that kid as a gadget. He's gonna be the gadget kid. And he was very talented for North Carolina the year before, the Tar Heels, and I actually am a big fan of his. I thought the Patriots were going to actually get him to
So,
pair him with Drake, but they ended up with Henderson. He's my second option. One of
so let
those
me ask
two.
you a question.
Yeah,
Do you think Cam Ward's gonna struggle, or is it that Hampton is gonna play that big? Because this award, I feel like, is very biased to rookie quarterbacks
right.
almost every time.
I don't think Cam Ward's going to struggle. I just don't think he's going to have a lot of wow plays. CJ
Okay.
Stroud was wowing everybody because they didn't expect him, because coming out of the draft, the assumption was that he is not mobile. The offense he ran in Ohio State was so and so whatever. There was a bunch of like negatives that they were trying to pull up, and the kid did
Yep.
enough as he could with the team he had, and he actually made players better around him, and they were able to
It's
invest
like
around him.
inverse now.
Exactly. So now, being that he's a junior
He's
in the
doing
league,
what we thought he was gonna be doing now. Instead of a rookie, it was good. Yeah.
exactly with my MVP, it's gonna be Burrow. This is the healthiest he's been. This is the healthiest Burrow has
Don't say
been.
that. Don't bring up the health, man. Don't bring up the health, man. It's gonna
You
bring
have
bad
to.
luck.
What was it? Wasn't last off season when he had the appendix?
Listen. Here's my
And then
fear with Burrow, man. And not to I agree with you.
and
It's like, dog,
coming off the wrist shit.
don't blink. Yo, bro, I remember it was like yesterday. I traded for him in fantasy football. Like it was like a win. Like I got Joe Burrow. Like I'm good. I got a guy like in a passing offense with passing guys, and he just casually screws his hand up off the ground. Like I'm just scared. And that O line is terrible, man. I'm with you on the MVP part. I think the stars are aligned. I'd be scared, man, with Joe Burrow back there, man. He almost died during preseason. Bro. Like, dog, I literally tweeted him like, yo, get him out the
The
fucking
game.
game. Get him out the game. Yo, you
Listen,
see the play. He pails back into the field trying to like extend and make a play, and you have linemen watching.
That's scary. When your lineman's looking at you in the eye, you don't want to even fucking do it. That's a scary time right there.
You know what's crazy to think about? Wasn't Penei Sewell in the same draft as Jamar Chase?
I believe so.
Obviously, you're never gonna pass on Jamar Chase, but it's like, god damn, if they couldn't have Penei Sewell, it's like I remember when Brady went to the Bucks and they drafted Tristan Wirfs. It's like, dog, you need some good offensive linemen, bro. I mean, I know they got Amaris Mims or whatever,
Mims.
but
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
I
it's
don't
a
know.
tough one.
I'm
But I do.
hopeful. He's young in Madden.
Hey, it's stupid.
He's young. I can develop him in Madden. I can protect Joe Burrow in Madden. I don't know about in real life.
So my bold prediction for the Super Bowl will be also the Bengals, but they're gonna go against the Packers, and I think the Bengals will win that out. They do play each other this season, by the way, in the regular season, so that'll be a kind of a
Hey,
preview.
maybe we'll have to do a joint watch event for that.
Of course, I think that'll be kind of lit. We should do that for sure.
You know, I'm the only guy that is allowed to be fans of two pro teams, but it is what it is.
As far as being realistic, I'm gonna be a little realistic and say it's gonna be Eagles Ravens. I think that's kind of the dream for the world is to see Lamar finally in the Super Bowl, and then also the Eagles to defend that championship, because I think everyone likes the drama of a championship team defending their championship the right way, and that's why it was easy to like troll the Chiefs last year for a lot of people because they stunk the shit up, and it was easy for the people to the year before that to look at the Chiefs and say, oh, I don't think they're gonna win that shit. You know what I mean? Like I hope it's the Niners. People thrive off the drama of the NFL.
The
So
drama's so good, man. I give
it's
this
the
to Dow
best
Jones
drama.
time.
It's the best
There's
drama in the
nothing
world.
better. There's nothing better than a shipyard beer, right, on a Monday night for a NFC North. I mean, not playoff game, divisional game. It'll be a fucking 3-10 Bears team, but you know that pass rush about to get after some quarterback.
Yep.
I love the AFC North. I think that's probably the best division to watch. I know guys will say NFC East, but a Monday night game watching the NFC North game, and I could just hear Al Michaels. I could just hear these guys. I can hear Troy, like all the things on the Monday night. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, or
Listen,
even a Sunday night game, man.
bro, it's Packers Lions at 12 p.m. on a Thanksgiving. I will be absolutely shit faced by that point, waiting for my Thanksgiving dinner. And if the Packers smack the shit out of them, I'm walking around with this cheese head everywhere I go for that whole weekend. I don't give a fuck what anybody tells me. You feel me? But
Go ahead.
but bro, I thank you for joining me. I'm gonna give everybody my top defenders, receivers, and quarterbacks. I know you're on a time crunch right now, but I appreciate you for joining me. But
Mad schedule,
everybody,
man. Got breakdown. Yeah,
yeah, everybody, do me a favor. My brother JB, Coach JB's on Twitter,
appreciate you, bro.
or formerly known as Twitter, now X, Instagram. Uh, hey, as much as y'all don't know, he, no matter how, whatever people say, still a great football mind, still a great coach, in my opinion. Listen, I'm a person of character. I understand people with character. Um, However you want to look at it, when a person has a passion for something and shows that passion, you know they love something too, and it makes you want to love it as much as that person. And I appreciate. I always gonna appreciate you for giving me opportunities, and better yet, just joining me. You know what I'm saying? Talking football. That's like some nerdy sports shit to do. Is just talk football, talking sports.
You
One
gotta
day we
live the
need to
life
talk.
you want to
One
live,
day
brother. That's all it
I
is,
know.
man. Do what you
One day
love.
we need to talk baseball because I know
Yep.
that's your secret love and nobody knows
Yep.
about that too much.
Yeah.
But
But I
thank
appreciate
you.
you, brother. I gotta get out of here, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being back on again.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
As everybody knows, thank you, JB. As everybody knows, this is gonna be a weekly pod with me and Coach JB, the Coach's Corner. We're gonna talk football, give our predictions, give our mindset of how every week went with the NFL season. But with all that being said, I have my top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Starting at 10, I have CJ Stroud. And then number 9, Matt Stafford. I would have had Stafford a little higher if you didn't have the back injury because I'm kind of concerned about that. but it is what it is. But he is probably the best veteran, like old head quarterback you have out there right now. Number 8 is Dak Prescott. I get it. He has a star in his head. It's easy for you to hate him. But if, let's say, he was playing on another team like the Rams, the Eagles, the Commanders, and he was doing as those quarterbacks were doing over there, everybody would love him. But because he's a Cowboy and he's Jerry's world, people feel some type of way and they talk their shit. It's fine. At number 7, I have Jared Goff. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a Packers fan, it's tough for me to say that. But I have to respect the guy. Like, he didn't have the greatest playoff performance this past playoff, but for a quarterback in this NFL where there's not a lot of quarterbacks that are just standing in the pocket all day long, he could dice you up. He could fry you up. And yeah, you could say, oh, but he has Jamar Gibbs and Montgomery and Laporta and Williams. And so, listen, there's a lot of quarterbacks that have played with huge, very generational talents, and they didn't do shit with it. So when you're a quarterback and you're able to maximize your gifts with those type of talents, that means you are should be respected as a good quarterback in this league. Danny Daniels will be number 6 for me. I know he's still is going to be in his sophomore year, and who knows, he might regress a little bit like C.J. Stroud did. But like C.J. Stroud, I think he has a maturity in his game. He plays well. That's the reason why the Commanders said, "Hey, fuck it, we're gonna have to pay Scary Terry, or else we're doing our quarterback a disservice." Especially when you're a young quarterback. If you're a team that has a young quarterback and you know you're competing for Super Bowls, pay his accessories. Do not fuck around with that shit, because when his payday comes, it gonna hurt. And now you're gonna really have to bank on draft picks and all that good shit. And then we're gonna go 5-1. Number 5 is Jalen Hurts. I do respect Jalen Hurts' game. He reminds me of a better, a more athletic. Well, let me not say that, because Russell Wilson was pretty damn goddamn athletic. He reminds me of Russell Wilson. He reminds me of Russell Wilson with probably a better, a more stoic approach. Like, he's not too extra. Not to say Russell when he first started wasn't super extra, but I think a lot of people become fearful of somebody's faith, and they choose to label them as soft or extra or simp or whatever you want to fucking call Russell Wilson. Doesn't matter. He won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. More than likely, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer. And however you want to point it, look at it, he did enough. You know what I'm saying? And I think Jalen Hurts just does enough. And I think this season they're gonna actually ask for him to do even more on the passing game, because you got to keep AJ happy. I think Devontae's pretty happy at his role, and also you got to save his legs and Saquon's for when those snowy games come around or those rainy games come around down the end of the season. You want to make sure he is healthy enough to get you where you need to be as a team. Number 4, Josh Allen. Although he was the MVP of last season, I just don't find him better than Burrow, Jackson, and Mahomes. As far as it's tough, because you could kind of shuffle the deck on that. But I just feel like those other 3 are just better, in my opinion. With that being said, number 3 is Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to be my number 3 on the top 10 of my quarterback list. I mean, it's tough to take away the talent that he has around him, and on top of that, Burrow is he's our version of Dan Marino right now. Like, I think he is prime to do some serious damage in the NFL, because, like I mentioned to Coach JB, this is the healthiest I've seen him. This is the most locked in I've seen that team. Everybody got their money. I think the NFC North is a little bit weaker than outside of Baltimore. It's weaker than ever. So why not take advantage of that? And I'm not disrespecting the Pittsburgh Steelers, but miss me with that whole idea of thinking that Aaron Rodgers is going to take you some type of promised land. It ain't going to happen. And the number 2 is Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP. I think he's just going to continue to get better, because I don't think anybody really wants to respect his passing game, because the team is known to be a running team, and he's evolving every season. he is learning the game through the eyes of a quarterback every season. So I respect Lamar Jackson and how he plays, and I appreciate the fact that they're waiting for him to be a YN so bad. I'm sorry, NFL fans, and I'm sorry, public. He ain't gonna satisfy you with the idea that he's gonna do some crash out shit. He is a pro. He's a pros pro, and he's one of the top tier quarterbacks in this NFL. Coach JB just sent me a tweet. So that's my obviously number one's Mahomes. I say obviously because that was the last person to speak on. I feel like you can't really say he has down years. This is a team that has had so much turnover, especially when it comes to like their staffing and their players and all that stuff. So you got to understand like that type of stuff happens. If you're a Patriot fan or better yet, a Brady fan, you know that's what he had to deal with, and that's what the Patriots went 10 years without Chip. So there's always turnaround when you're a successful quarterback in this league. You have to deal with ambiguity and all that good stuff when it comes to playing that position. But I think Mahomes is the standard of the NFL, and that's why these other quarterbacks live up or work up to be in his position. And that's my top 10 quarterbacks. My top 10 wide receivers goes like this. It starts with Terry McLaurin, Puka Nacua at 9, number 8, Garrett Wilson. I know Coach JB was mentioning Garrett Wilson earlier, being that he has Fields. The one thing I'll say is that he's had mediocre ass Zach Wilson, old ass Aaron Rodgers, and now Fields. If Fields is the best of the three, that means I would assume that he will have a better season or one of his better seasons. But you know, he just shows flashes of the wide receiver one. I'm gonna put Tyreek in there. I mean, you can't coach speed, you can't teach speed, and at the end of the day, when he's right and he's locked in, he is probably your best bet as far as like a wide receiver one. After that, number 6, Nico Collins. I do have AJ Brown at number 5. Obviously, could be higher, but due to the fact that his system doesn't play nice with him, and I think that's going to change. He's still the top. He's a top 5 receiver in this league. That's just what it is. Like I think people forget about that because it's Jalen Hurts and the fact that Jalen Hurts could get 18 rushing touchdowns on his own or whatever that number was last season. But AJ Brown's my number 5 receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 4. I think you could put him anywhere on the field, slot, X, Y, backfield. He'll get open. He'll get you a third down conversion. One of the better guys in the NFL. CD Lamb at number 3. We know who CD is. You know what I'm saying? Easy to point that out. As a Packer fan, it's tough to watch him dice up my squad, but he is absolutely out the gates became one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Out the gates. He can gritty till he turns 80. You know what I'm saying? He is the generational talent, and his former teammate in college is going to be my number 1 receiver, Jamar Chase. I can never hate on Chase. He beat me in fantasy, by the way, in the championship. One of the better wide receivers in the league, in my opinion. He has size. If there's any such thing as a 5-tool wide receiver, that's Jamar Chase. And that's my top 10 wide receivers. As far as my top 10 defenders, I got number 10, Will Anderson Jr. from the Houston Texans. Still young, but it's very rare when you have a pass rusher that can also defend the run. One of the better defenders in the league on the outside, plays like a veteran. Then you have Stingley as my number 9 defender. And being that Houston has those 2 guys, that's why they're always going to be in the conversation of division, winning that division outside of CJ Stroud. When you have a stout defense in that team, you're more than likely going to see some success going forward. Number 8 is Dexter Lawrence. He's one of my favorite defensive tackles in the league. He's a disruptive defensive tackle. He could pass rush. It would be easy for me to put Chris Jones in there, but I feel like he's just outside my top 10, slightly declining because he's a much older player than Dexter Lawrence. But Dexter Lawrence, you could point him out anywhere you see him on the field. Hendrickson, of the Cincinnati Bengals, sack leader of last season. I think the Bengals just kind of disrespected by not giving him the big payday like Micah Parsons did, or even TJ Watt did, and all of them. But he stood on business as much as possible, and he got what he wanted for as far as the payday. But I think he's one of the better pass rushers in the league. He should be higher, but the other pass rushers I have are just so much more impactful for what they do, because you have to account for them as much as Henderson you do, but they just flash, and they point, you can see them in bigger games. And I'm speaking of like guys like Max Crosby, who's my number 6 defender. Um, he's been on mediocre Raiders teams for years, and he still comes with the same energy every season, no matter whether or not his knee is swollen 2 times the size, or whether or not he is fighting hard enough to stay true to his sobriety. Like, the guy is one of those guys, and I respect him, and I love watching him play. Number 5 is Fred Warner, probably the best linebacker, stand-up linebacker in the NFL, period. Like, there's no ifs or buts. He is your version of Ray Lewis in this NFL, and I love watching him play because I played linebacker in high school. It's just exciting to watch a guy truly play that position and make it like flashy. Like, he just, when he's on that field. Like, it's you're not surprised when you see him make a play. And then you have Patrick Surtain, our reigning defensive player of the year, probably the best lockdown corner in the NFL right now. Even as a rookie, I saw flashes of him being that guy, but clearly he runs and he is part of that successful Denver Broncos defense. And then we have our top 3 with Micah Parsons, who just got traded to the Packers. However you want to look at it, and yes, there might be some concerns about his character or his level of effort, and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, Micah Parsons, listen, folks, like, at the end of the day, he is the game changer of all game changers. If you're talking about top tier defenders, you could point him. He was, before Dallas traded him, he was the guy. Like, look at the headlines. Go online and Google it. A lot of these NFC East quarterbacks and teams, they just had a sigh of relief. They don't have to ever face him more than once, ever again. And then number 2, TJ Watt. Like Coach JB said, you could line him up anywhere on the left side, right side of the defensive line. You could drop him in coverage. He's always active. When you have a TJ Watt on your team, you're more than likely going to win 9 games. The Pittsburgh Steelers really haven't had great offenses throughout the last few years, ever since Ben Roethlisberger retired. And the kid has been pretty goddamn talented since then. Just no different than his brother. And he deservingly got paid. And so did Myles Garrett, another deservingly paid defender. Probably the best pass rusher in the NFL, no questions asked. May have not seen a lot of success as far as a team aspect, but as far as the individual, he has been very successful, and he lives by, he was the number 1 pick. He was the first pick in the draft. He's living up to that and more. So all due respect to Myles Garrett from here. Like, if it wasn't Michael Parsons, I would have loved for him to have come to Green Bay, but beggars can't be choosers, right? So Myles Garrett is my number 1 defender in the NFL. With all that being said, that's my rankings of my player rankings. I will have a recording before the season starts. We're going to have a segment for all my bettors out there, people who like to bet on the game. I'm going to have my prediction before the season starts, like I mentioned, of at least Thursday and Friday's game. But hey, man, enjoy this up-and-coming NFL season, ladies and gentlemen. Entertainment of the NFL is the best. There's some highs, there's some lows. But hey, man, I think America's game is football. I think that's the one time you'll see rivalries arise, fans celebrate with each other, and people like myself just dedicating Thursday night, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, and a Monday night to just the game they love. But with all that being said, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to Sports Talk with DesPain. Until next time.